We begin tonight with the breaking developments involving Russia and Ukraine. Tonight, the U.S. believes a full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine could be imminent. The Pentagon late today saying of Russia, they are ready, saying if Putin decides to conduct this full-scale invasion, this will be a war of choice, and it won't be bloodless, and that it must be laid at Putin's feet. More than 150,000 Russian troops, a senior U.S. defense official saying those troops are now uncoiled, ready to strike, some of those forces just about 5 miles from the Ukrainian border. And late today, Russian state news now reporting that those two separatist regions inside Ukraine that Putin declared as independent, that they've now requested help from Putin and the Russian military in taking on Ukrainian forces. That news coming in the middle of the night in Moscow. The U.S. obviously very concerned tonight that this request for Russian military help will be the pretext, part of this manufactured reason for going in. Tonight, Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelinski declaring a national state of emergency, mobilizing thousands of military reservists. The country declaring it will fight back. New satellite images tonight showing Russia ramping up new troops and equipment now in place. The U.S. and its allies imposing new sanctions after Germany said it would not certify that new controversial gas pipeline from Russia to Germany, Nord Stream 2. Tonight, President Biden has now sanctioned the company that built the pipeline. The president saying there is more to come depending on what Russia does. While in Moscow, we saw Putin laying a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier, marking what Russia calls the Defenders of the Fatherland Day. Tonight, we have now learned that a call from Ukraine's president to Vladimir Putin went unanswered today. And just moments ago here, my interview with Secretary of State Antony Blinken. What is the U.S. seeing inside Ukraine right now? And if Putin continues to move, are these sanctions working? But we begin tonight with our senior foreign correspondent Ian Pannell in Kyiv again tonight.
Tonight, the United States warning Ukraine a full-scale Russian invasion is imminent.
They are ready to go right now.
At least 150,000 Russian troops along the border are poised to strike at any moment. Facing them, an estimated 250,000 Ukrainian troops ready to defend their country. A state of emergency now in place across Ukraine. Videos circulating online showing attacks that Ukrainian authorities blame on separatists backed by Russia in eastern Ukraine. The separatists, without any evidence, now claiming Ukrainian forces are the aggressors. They're now formally asking Russia to help under their mutual defense pact, signed this week when Vladimir Putin unilaterally declared the region independent. Pentagon officials saying tonight they think the Kremlin's deploying more troops there.
We certainly believe that additional Russian military forces are moving into that region.
A defiant Putin visiting Russia's tomb of the unknown soldiers today. He says he's ready to provide not only military assistance to separatists in the Donbass region in eastern Ukraine, but to recognize their claims to an area roughly 70% larger than what they currently hold. But the US fears Putin may want more than that. New videos appear to show Russian forces massing ever closer to the Ukrainian border. These satellite images reveal the intense Russian buildup. This field, once empty, now filled with Russian military equipment. The US also saying Russia's moving in field medical units and blood supplies in a telltale sign that action may soon follow. As war appears to be closer, the European Union expanding its sanctions today to Russia's defense minister and an institution known as Putin's personal bank. Japan and Australia now joining the US in imposing sanctions against the Kremlin. In addition to its armed forces, Ukraine's now calling up 36,000 reservists with combat experience, ages 18 to 60. We talked with one of them, Dmytro Bulatov, a veteran and a husband. Tonight, he's packing his kit and saying farewell to his wife, Nina Vasilova. Tomorrow morning, he leaves for the army.
Ukrainians are ready to war from our independence, for our families, for our future.
An extraordinary situation unfolding, the Ukrainian people and potentially an unwanted war. Ian Pannell with us now from the Ukrainian capital again tonight. And Ian, I know that you've just learned that the Ukrainian President Zelinski has now revealed that he tried to contact Vladimir Putin today.
Yeah, that's right. He said, today I initiated a phone call with President Putin and all I got was, quotes, silence, silence. Interestingly, speaking Russian, he appealed directly to the Russian people, trying to say that Ukraine was a friend, not how it's being portrayed on Russian TV. And he ended by urging what looks like an appeal for peace, a last-minute appeal for peace on what looks like the eve of war in Ukraine. David?
Ian Panel leading us off again tonight. Ian, thank you. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who has been at the center of U.S. efforts to try to find a diplomatic solution to this escalating crisis, just 24 hours ago calling off a meeting with his Russian counterpart that was planned for this week, saying any meeting does not make sense given what's now unfolding. Well, tonight, with the U.S. warning a full-scale invasion could be imminent, we spoke with Secretary Blinken just before we came on. Secretary Blinken, thank you for joining us here tonight. I want to get right to what was reported late today from Russian state news. Reports that those Russian separatists in those two regions inside Ukraine that Vladimir Putin declared as independent, that those separatists have now made a formal appeal to Vladimir Putin for military help in, quote, repulsing Ukrainian aggression, accusing Ukraine of genocide. This was announced in the middle of the night in Moscow, and you've been saying all along, the U.S. has been predicting that there could be some sort of manufactured plea for help here, that Putin might then use it to send in Russian troops. Is that what we're witnessing here?
David, I'd say this is exactly that. This is right out of the Russian playbook to manufacture a provocation as a justification for invading Ukraine. And this is part and parcel of what we predicted all along.
Secretary, I wanted to ask you about what we heard from John Kirby over at the Pentagon late today when pressed. What has the U.S. seen inside eastern Ukraine? Has the U.S. seen Russian forces move into the Donbass region? He said that we certainly believe that additional Russian military forces are moving into that region, but we can't confirm the numbers, the capabilities, but that we certainly believe that's happening. So just to be clear tonight, the U.S. believes Russian forces have moved into eastern Ukraine. Can you shed any more light on the numbers? What do we know right now?
David, I can't give you light on specific numbers, but what I can tell you is this. Everything we've seen over the last 24 to 48 hours has Russia putting the final touches on having its forces in place across all of Ukraine's borders, to the north, to the east, to the south, to be ready for a full-on invasion.
We know they're assembled on the borders, though. He made it sound like they've begun to push in. Is that your belief, too?
We've certainly seen the presence of Russian forces inside of Ukraine.
We all watched as Vladimir Putin suddenly declared those two regions independent, then sanctions from President Biden. 24 hours ago, President Biden telling the American people that the invasion was beginning, and then we saw more sanctions. Now tonight, Putin giving every signal that he's now moving forward. So are the sanctions working here?
David, the sanctions are designed to do two things. And first of all, we've spent a lot of time working with allies and partners to build the sanctions, to be able to act in unison, to be able to act quickly, which is just what we did yesterday with significant sanctions against major Russian financial institutions, their ability to raise money around the world for their projects, and critically, the step that Germany took in close coordination with us to end this pipeline, the so-called Nord Stream 2 pipeline that would have been a cash cow for Moscow going forward, an $11 billion project that's now on the ice. But the sanctions are designed in the first instance to try to deter Russia from taking further aggression, from engaging in a massive invasion of Ukraine beyond the steps that they've already taken. But if that doesn't succeed in deterring them, to make it very clear that there are going to be massive consequences and to punish them for the actions they take.
Will the U.S.
All
sanction
of that is in
Putin?
place.
Will the U.S. sanction Putin directly?
As Russia, if and as Russia escalates, we will look at every other step to do the same ourselves.
You don't need me to tell you this. We all know that Russia has been sanctioned before. Putin just told the Russian people this week that the West is going to sanction us. So if sanctions don't work here, are there any non-economic moves that President Biden can take?
First, the sanctions that we have, not only the ones we've already initiated based on Russia starting its invasion of Ukraine, but the ones we have in reserve if they actually continue down this path, are unprecedented. And not just from us, in coordination with our European partners, with partners around the world. Second, beyond that, we've made very clear that we're going to do a number of things that Russia is not going to like, including reinforcing the NATO defensive alliance, including right near Russia's borders to make sure we're protecting allies and partners, as well as doubling down on our support to Ukraine. Security, economic, political, diplomatic. All of that will be forthcoming. All things that President Putin says he wants to prevent will be happening.
But bottom line, if sanctions don't work, is there anything else President Biden can do here?
Look, if there is any opportunity for diplomatic engagement, if Russia demonstrates that it's actually serious about that, which unfortunately it's doing just the opposite, we'll certainly pursue that. But we've said all along that we're prepared for this either way. We're prepared to try to avert this diplomatically through dialogue. We're also prepared if Russia decides to choose the path of aggression, because ultimately they get a vote. President Putin gets a vote. And if his vote is for aggression, we're fully prepared for that.
With just a few seconds left here, we appear to be in the 11th hour here. Do you still believe there's a diplomatic path?
Until you hit midnight, there always is, and we're certainly looking for it, but it requires Russia to demonstrate that it's serious about diplomacy. Every step that it's taken in recent days is moving in exactly the opposite direction.
Secretary Blinken, thank you for joining us here tonight.
Thanks, David.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.